Shannon, I am so excited for you to be on the True Health podcast today because you have such an incredible story that I'm excited to share with my listeners. You have gone from personal trainer, very similar to me, into functional medicine, very similar to me, and now have moved into bioresonance practitioner.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah. So, kind of similar to you, right? Like we always evolve, and as coaches, we're always evolving. As we evolve, so does our practice. And I started off as a nutritionist and personal trainer, doing primarily weight loss, and that was great. It worked great. And then I was just like, I was dealing with super crazy chronic health conditions. Not going too deep into my story, but I went from like winning a bodybuilding show to being crippled, walking with a cane, unable to get out of bed, couldn't literally step on my own feet, couldn't eat anything besides like 5 foods a day. My hormones were an absolute mess. My skin was a mess. I felt like I literally was dying. I remember turning to my husband before our wedding, actually being like, I feel like I'm dying. Not really something you want to hear as you're about to marry this person, but you know, but I started getting more into the functional health world, right? Diving into more quotation root cause approach, which we'll chat about a little bit under our bioresonance lens, but, and diving into hormones, gut health, functional lab testing, which is something I know you do as well. And that truly saved my life years ago. I mean, I don't take that lightly when I say that. And then the last 2 years, I had a baby. Your identity changes, your life changes. And I just was feeling very pulled in the nervous system direction, trying to incorporate this with clients because on a root cause, and we've talked about this on other podcasts before, on a root cause perspective, it's not the parasite that's always the issue. It's the nervous system and it's your body like being so susceptible to so much invasion. And everybody is stressed, no matter what you say. Probably 90% of my clients. I mean, there is a 10% where truly maybe they're not, but and they'll say they're not stressed. We look at their labs, we're like, dude, like your body is saying a different story, right?
Yeah.
So I started incorporating nervous system work with my clients. I brought in a somatic practitioner who was reading our labs, which is amazing. So she had both brains here going on. But then what I was finding was people were doing the modules in our nervous system course, checking it off because that's what we love to do as type A ladies, oh, I did it, but not embodying it, not implementing it. And while it was semi-helpful, it didn't tell the full picture. And so I was on my personal journey of whatever spiritual rebirth, for lack of better words, and just trying to understand what my next step was. I was feeling a little bit out of alignment with functional labs. I was like, it's not it for me. I want to go deeper. I don't know how. This is what we know in the functional lab world, right? But there was something missing for me. And so for months, I just kind of sat with this. I'm like, I want to blend my very logical brain, which is really fun to talk about bioenergetics with people because it's also like, I'm very logical brain. I'm not in the woo. I'm not in the, energy healing space per se. And I was around energy healers during this time in a mentorship. So I was just like, I want to merge these together. I don't know how. And then one of my friends who was going to hire me months before came up to me at a retreat. This was like a life-changing moment for me. She's like, Shannon, I know I was gonna, we had talked about working together. She has PCOS and endometriosis, but she had done all the functional labs. She had gone to a functional medicine doctor. She had done all the things. She's like, the last few months I actually went to somebody and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but maybe you'll think it's cool. But I've been working with this person that does energy, like this like bioresonance stuff. And she imprints tinctures into water. And I just take these water drops and I feel 1,000 times better. I'm like, oh, tell me more. I'm interested.
For somebody, again, who is such a logical brain, that is so hard to comprehend. But for somebody who has gone down my path of healing too, like anything is possible. It's intriguing.
Anything is possible. And that's why, well, we can chat about this later. Like I couldn't turn back. When I started into the bioresonance work, I couldn't go back to functional labs. I couldn't go back to the way I was doing things because the results were mind-blowing and they were so freaking quick. They were so quick compared to like even what we were doing, which I don't like to sell quick fixes, but hell, if you give exactly what your body needs and work on it with an energetic level, you will see quicker results than you will see with any functional protocol. And so yeah, that day, no, it was the next day because we were in Florida at a retreat. The next day, I called up the software company that I knew that this other woman she had gone to had used, paid in full, multiple 5 figures for this, never looked back. It was like that strong intuitive pull where I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. It's exactly what I've been looking for. And then real quick,
I'm sorry, multiple 5 figures? Multi 5 figures? Can you give us a number?
It was about 20K US. Yeah, for the equipment and training. And then I've spent multiple after that on additional trainings and mentorship on it because it's not easy switching from functional world brain to energy world brain.
I believe that.
And I've had to unlearn a lot. And at the same time, I think something that makes me very unique is I blend the functional health and the nutrition world with bioenergetics. A lot of people just do energy healing, and you'll still see results from that. But I feel as if there's a huge gap in the industry where we're just swinging one way versus the other, and we're not blending the two together. So that's kind of my goal with my company is blending this, I always say science, strategy, and soul together, right? It's like, I love the science. This is rooted in quantum physics. And I think that's what kind of makes people feel weird is like that, oh, this is just in the ether. And it's like, actually, this is all rooted in science. It's rooted in quantum physics. It's just that we can't always see it. So people can't grasp it, right?
That's exactly what quantum physics is. Like it is so hard. Yeah, it is so hard to understand. Yes. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. That is the only description.
Yeah. And I mean, so I'll just backtrack here for a hot second too. Actually, I'm going to say one more thing on this because this is what actually changed me and why intuitively I went in this direction. 15 years ago, my sister dropped out of college. She was incredibly ill. Nobody could figure out what it was. We lived in Los Angeles at the time, and we had access to a lot of really great, not only doctors, but alternative practitioners. This was 15, 20 years ago. Like this was not, but my mom had found a bioenergetics practitioner. My sister did 2 sessions with her and was completely healed. And ever since that, when my friend had came up to me, talked to me about it, there was no question in my body because I knew I had seen the power that it had so many years ago. And the software has only advanced since then. And so, yeah, that was kind of like, I didn't have any questions. Like I just knew. So anyways, but bioenergetics, if you're like, okay, but like what is bioresonance? What is bioenergetic testing is like, what you're doing is you're testing the body's energetic field to detect stress patterns or imbalances before they usually show up as symptoms or on labs. And that's really important because I'll get a lot of questions. It's like, well, what about just doing lab testing? But that already shows what's broken in the body, right? Versus what's beginning to create dysfunction. And so it uses frequencies to identify where the body's out of alignment and whether it's physical, like a toxin, a pathogen, emotional, or energetic. And that's why this stuff works so much deeper is when you look at a lab, it just shows the physical where, you're testing a protein when you're testing your hair on a tear tissue mineral test versus when somebody sends me a hair sample, I'm testing their energetic field. And that's very different. So, when we are able to incorporate all those things together and not just look at things one at a time, like, oh, okay, you have low progesterone, cortisol's low, your potassium's high, like that's great. And it doesn't tell the whole story. So, yeah.
And you know what? You have to retest. You don't have to retest. I actually don't retest a lot of my clients if they're feeling good. But generally, because it's a snapshot in time, because if you're testing stool, it's like you're testing one stool. And even at that point, it's like different pieces of it, not the entirety of your colon or the entirety of your intestines. Or if you're testing your hair, what things are skewing it? Is it hair color? Is it your shampoo? Is it, whatever. I'm not saying, so I'm a functional medicine practitioner and I use these functional labs. But I always talk to my clients a little bit about, this is a snapshot. Mm-hmm. If a parasite comes up on a stool test, or if there's a, huge dysbiosis issue, like, yes, we can say that this has been happening for a while. It's not something that's like only in this stool does it show this bacteria. No. But the other thing that I have to preface is that as we start to heal this part of the body actually can kind of like unlayer, and all of a sudden there's more, because there are things that like, so for instance, parasites and bacteria can kind of leech off of each other.
Oh
You
yeah.
kill one, it releases more. So you can really go down a path of kind of like chasing symptoms, even with a functional medicine practitioner, when they talk about being root cause.
Well, and this is what's really important, because I love that you teed this up. So something I was getting frustrated with is we deal with a lot of chronic complex cases, and we would, you're spending $500 just on a stool test, just to look at the small intestine, that's it. Or just, a Dutch test to just look at a hormone, right? So, to get all the labs that I would really love for a client, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 just for labs, not even the coaching, interpretation, and supplements, things like that. But it also doesn't tell us what the body is actually willing and able to address. And that's why I love bioresonance so much. Is this is a snapshot in time. When I'm testing your energy field, I always tell this story because it fascinates me. When I run your body, I'm running it in real time. So an example is like my sister broke her elbow and was coming home from the hospital, and I ran a test to help facilitate healing and the pain. And I know this is weird, but I can do this remotely and send her remote healing frequencies. When I ran her scan, X-ray showed up as one of the first 2 or 3 healing frequencies, right? Her body had just been affected by electromagnetic rays, and it never showed up on any of her scans before, right? So like, how crazy is that the body just knows that? But at the same time, we'll say parasites, because I talk about this a lot because everybody wants, the parasites, talk about parasites right now. Oftentimes when I'm looking at scans, it's giving me a roadmap for what the body, like where is the first place that we need to address with the body. And oftentimes it's not the parasite. Sometimes it is. It's oftentimes a lot of other things first. And when it shows me on the scan is this something more in an energetic dilution? Is this something more physical? So we'll use parasite again. Is this something very physical that we probably need to attack right now? Yes. Or is it more energetic, meaning, is it really a parasite, or is it something like parasitic people, or our body's immune system is really down and it's, it's living there, but our body isn't ready to get rid of it yet? And that's important because I see so many people doing these really heavy detoxes and cleanses and all of this stuff. And sometimes it wreaks havoc on the body more than it supports it. And so, I'm using this as a roadmap to give me an idea of not only what we need to start with, but also I test every supplement against a client, which is fascinating. So I don't even give random supplements. I test every single thing against their body to see what their body needs. And, I'll just use, I had a client that was like, parasite stuff was coming up, but it wasn't coming up strong enough. And I kept testing. I was like, I really feel like we need it. And the body kept saying, no. And we're targeting it through just pure energy work, meaning a custom energetic tincture, which sounds nuts. Okay. She's taking custom water frequency, nothing else, to address the parasites. And she had like a lot of them. Okay. Like there was a lot going. She literally messaged me. It's been a week and a half. She goes, I've never felt better in my life. She goes, my gas and my bloating is gone. She was having like frequent stool multiple times a day. She's like, I'm having 2 regular stools a day now. She was like, I still have a little bit of bloating. I was like, well, it's been a week, so not, and she's like, but I feel clear-headed. I feel amazing. And it was like, that's all she's doing, is she's just working the body against frequencies that are balancing her body out and not trying to push something that the body isn't ready for. And it's not always just one thing in isolation. So like parasite, it's never just parasite. It's always, for her, it was a lot of thyroid gut postpartum. She had just stopped breastfeeding. And yeah, definitely a history of histamine issues, all of these things. And so I think her body responded so well because I wasn't giving her 30 supplements, right? I was giving her like the tinctures, and then I think I gave her 3 physical supplements, maybe 4 tops, but they weren't even dealing with the parasite directly. Maybe I put her on a binder. I think I actually did that physically, but yeah, that was it.
I do love a binder.
If I'm doing a binder, I'd test it against because I have multiple binders on which one's going to be best for the body. Because that's another thing too. You can take one and it can kind of stop you up and make you feel worse. So for somebody with that, I'm usually always pulling a physical binder for like 30 days. But yeah, it was just that. And I can't remember the other 2. And it's been a week and a half. And she's like, I just can't even believe how much better I feel. So it's really wild.
Okay. Totally crazy. Totally crazy. Can you help me understand logical brain? the
Yeah,
person
yeah.
the person who can't see quantum physics. Tell me, okay, so you do a scan on me, some parasitic energy comes up. We don't, it's obviously you're not like testing for Giardia or you're not testing for
Oh, no, it
blasto.
shows. Yeah, no, it's in there.
Oh, that actually physically comes up. Okay. So
Mhm.
let's say blasto comes up on my bioresonance scan and it's like, okay, something is happening here. Can you explain in a more logical way, if you can, how your energetic tinctures would actually does it get rid of the parasite? Does it actually kill it? Does it eliminate it? Is it, you know what? I'm going to actually just ask the question. Is this how it works? Does it help your body get to a frequency that makes it inhospitable to that parasite? Is that the idea?
I could see where you're going with this.
I might be totally wrong, so tell me.
No, no, not at all. I think something important to understand when you're working with bioenergetics, bioresonance, is it's giving the body frequencies to heal, not necessarily to kill. And so it gives the body the frequencies in order to bring balance to the body. Now, when you're dealing, again, let's say like parasite, that's where you might need additional supplements in the physical. Maybe you do need a binder. Maybe you do need an anti-parasitic, right? You can also target this like pumpkin seeds, bromelon or pineapple, and doing things like that one client I mentioned. That's all we were doing because the body was so sensitive and depleted. So
Mm-hmm.
we weren't focused on a kill protocol. We were focused on a balancing protocol with a little bit of support to try to get those suckers out, right? Now, if we rescan down the road, it might show that certain things are in the physical and then we attack them differently then, right? And so what frequency is essentially just telling your body how to function at its optimal health again, right? And you need certain frequencies in order to balance them out. So everything has a frequency, right? Your liver, your liver, your hormones, every organ and system has a frequency. And so what the equipment does is it runs all these different things like parasites. Like we have, I don't even know, 25, 30, 50 parasites in there. It's running it against your system and seeing which one is resonating higher, like Giardia, Blasto. I was just talking to a client who came back from Japan with it, all of these things. So that's how we can kind of figure it out. And then that's how we can attack what we want to do with it. Does that make any sense? Did I answer your question?
Well, okay, I think I have a more specific question. So, like, yes, you did. Okay, so you work with women, you typically work with women, and we're going to dive into men and children and pets in a minute, but you typically work with women who just like generally want to feel better. They want to
Mm-hmm.
boost their metabolism. They maybe have been dealing with like chronic fatigue or like just chronic symptoms in general.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever worked with somebody who is maybe post cancer treatment? And if you haven't, that's fine. I'm not asking necessarily for your, history of clientele. So as a functional medicine practitioner, I'm not looking at cancer as like a diagnosis or like PCOS as a diagnosis or endometriosis as a diagnosis. I almost don't care what the diagnosis is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not a medical doctor, I am not there to treat a
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis.
Yep.
What my job is to
Mm-hmm.
do is to coach up function
Mm-hmm.
of the body
Mm-hmm.
to allow it to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now my question is, if somebody came to you with like post-cancer treatment, so they're, officially cancer-free, they've gone through radiation, they did chemo, whatever they needed to do, and they're, maybe 2-3 years post that. But, like we all know that kind of conventional treatment
Mm-hmm.
could really wreak havoc on the system.
Yeah.
So they come to you, they're exhausted, they're definitely not themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What your work won't contraindicate anything because it's water and
Mm-hmm.
energy. But
Mm-hmm.
like, how does it help somebody?
Yeah.
How does it physically get people through something that invasive?
Mm-hmm. It all comes down to imbalances in the body. And I will say that you can work. I don't personally at this time, although I could, work with somebody currently going through cancer treatments. You just have to be careful on like supplements, obviously, that you give them, but it has been wildly helpful to mitigate the side effects of radiation and chemotherapy. Same with IVF, just on a podcast about fertility. Like, you can absolutely be doing all this work while going through IVF to help support the body, right? Because it is all supportive in nature. And what it's doing is it's helping identify what's still out of balance. Let's say your example of post-cancer, right? Things like mineral depletion, which we talk about, nervous system dysregulation, liver overload, emotional trauma, huge one, lingering toxicity from not only what was probably potentially causing that cancer in the first place, but also from the treatment and the trauma from that. Your body's going to hold on to it, right? And so it's going to help bring awareness to what's still out of balance. And when I'm working with clients, yes, I'm giving them the tincture. I'm also telling them what's showing up on the scans. So we're seeing minerals on a much deeper level than just a hair tissue mineral analysis, right? So yes, we're bringing in the physical too. Don't get me wrong. Certain things like oxalates are a huge thing that shows up on client scans, and I'm able to, assess, okay, our body's not breaking these down, and it's potentially like binding to your minerals and not allowing you to absorb them. We can run food sensitivity stuff if we need to kind of take certain foods out that are maybe creating more inflammation in the body. Although that's really last step. That's not really like a huge first step. I can run cancer scans. I don't call them that for some clients unless I've gone through cancer, but I run cell abnormality scans. Do we still have some lingering abnormalities that our body needs to just find some more balance with? Certain things, if they're still dealing with like chemo fatigue and things like that, I can run certain blocks that help essentially bring frequency to bring balance back into the more of their energetic body. So it's so complex, but yet so simple. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, you're supporting cellular repair by supporting communication. That's what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm, so when I just throw a supplement at you, you're not really communicating with the body on a deeper level. You're helping in the meantime, and that might be absolutely needed. But when frequencies are out of balance or energy patterns are out of whack, healing is going to be much, much harder. And there's many, many studies, and this is not truly my huge scope of practice around cancer, around trapped emotions and around energy flow, right? And so how those can create dysfunction in the body. And so when you work on those, that's where I see truly people start feeling better a lot quicker, right? And yeah, you might need some electrolytes in the process,
Right. I mean, there are physical things that our bodies require and need, right?
But you're also dealing with a very sensitive person, right? When you're dealing with somebody in that, let's say, post-cancer, it's very difficult to see what the body is going to respond positively to as well. And so that's why I'm always really grateful to be guided by, certain softwares, equipment, along with my, personal knowledge. So I'm not overwhelming a kind of fragile system. And that's any sort of, not even post-cancer. These could be people with MCAS and histamine issues, people with autoimmune issues, mold, people that are a little bit more sensitive. But yeah, definitely the emotional component is a really, really big one on that. That conventional and functional stuff is just not going to go to. We can tell you you're stressed all day long, but it doesn't move the body to actually balance. So yeah.
Interesting.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it's still really hard to comprehend. I do really love the data that kind of gets spit out from your software. Like, I think that's a big piece that would be a big piece for me in marrying to like a world that is so hard to comprehend and a world that I understand. Right.
I got into it. I was like, this is very logical. Like when I'm running scans. Now, listen, I'm going to preface this. I've worked with some incredible energy healers, and through the last few years, I've seen this crazy amount of healing that has happened through purely that. And then my logical brain was like, I want to bring this to my practice, but I'm not an energy healer per se, right? I don't have those quotation gifts, but I also want to bring my logic and to people that need the healing, but want it more physical. So when I'm pulling up reports or when I'm scanning reports, I have over 300 signatures usually that are showing up that I'm sifting through, depending on how many scans I'm running. And it's a lot. It's a lot to sift through. It's a lot to understand the overlying, themes from all of the scans. But also it's it's data. It's not just me being like, I think that you have a generational, because I read generational scanning too. Your grandfather, maternal side, there's something going on. Like if I just told you that, like you'd be like, but if it's on a scan, your body's calling for it for a certain reason. And so we want to explore that a little bit more. So it's really cool to see it on the physical and to also be like, I don't know why this is coming up, but it's coming up for a reason. And a great example of this, I just had the other week where a bee sting came up on the root cause scan. And I didn't know why that came up. I was like, maybe it's a toxin their body's holding on to still. Is it emotional? I don't know. So I just asked him, I was like, hey, bee sting came up. Like, I was like, where do you feel? Talk to me about this, right? This actually happened twice with bee sting. It's only showed up twice for clients. And every time I have somebody that just like breaks down. But she was like, the first time I got stung by a bee was the first time my mom beat me. She goes, I screamed so loud. And she goes, after that, the beating never stopped. And so that was a huge issue for her that she was holding on to, right? And same with another client who was like, I never got stung by a bee. I was like, okay, anybody you know that got stung by, like, if it comes up, it comes up for a reason, even if your conscious brain can't figure it out, which sometimes it doesn't always, and that's okay too. And we were doing the session further. She goes, oh my God, I just remembered something. When I was around 8 years old, the time that I was telling her that some of this was happening, she was like, my brother got stung by a bee and was hospitalized and almost died. I was like, oh.
So she was holding on to that trauma.
Yeah. And it was just fascinating to see that and to see her start to actually emote. She's not a big emoter and cry. And actually I was like, good, release these feelings. She like never wants to show emotion. She wants to be strong for everybody else. And I was like, this is holding you back. For her, a lot of it was weight loss, right? You know, it was like your body is stuck. It wants to hold on and be perfect for everybody else. But there's so much energy that's stuck here. And this is one piece of it, right? I'm not saying this bee sting is the main issue on why your body's holding on to weight, but it's a factor. For her, it was a lot of cell integrity issues, a lot of methylation issues, vaccination toxins. I see a lot on scans. Man,
wouldn't that be amazing if you could just run it on everybody and be like, well, there's real science that says your body holds on to these toxins. Maybe we should make a different method.
Yeah. You know, with vaccines, it's always a tricky topic, right? And so I'm not going to really get into this too much. Something that I can do to support somebody if they choose not to vaccinate is actually imprint something called an isotherapy with the different ingredients of the vaccine. So their body starts to remember actually what is in the vaccine without actually taking it. And I'm not going to tell you it's as strong as taking the vaccine because it's not, but it can at least help your body remember if you're exposed to it, how to potentially counteract to it. And so it's a little bit of a tricky subject. And that's kind of a weird thing I don't really talk about a lot. Kind of more the fun thing I talk about with isotherapy is dog sensitivities. Like if you're allergic to your dog, I swear like half the people are, they send me their sample of their dog's hair. And then I run an isotherapy and I actually imprint that hair into a tincture and they take it every day. That's what I'm actually doing with my husband with our dogs. I know he's allergic to him.
I'm allergic to our cat.
Wow. Well, you can send me some cat hair and I'll create an isotherapy for you.
It's everywhere. I could send you the whole damn cat.
Well, the thing with cats too is it's often the saliva that you're allergic to, not the hair, but that's okay. They have the saliva usually on their hair, but you know, you imprint it into a tincture. And this is truly, again, it was weird when I was learning this. I was like, how? But then you just realize like people are healing. That's all that matters. But yeah, that's a crazy thing with just imprinting animal hair so that you just become less reactive to just your immune system's always going to be heightened if you're allergic to the thing that's everywhere in your home.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like suppressing that a little bit, but also it's supportive, right? I'm not giving you allergy shots. I'm not suppressing your immune system, right? I'm giving you supportive frequencies to get your body to remember how not to react to that specific, cat dander or cat hair. So
interesting. If there was children, I know, I'm looking here at your bio and you don't have children on there, but I'm going to assume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Let's say a child's diagnosed with ADHD or there are behavioral issues or attention issues or, on and on. And people
Mm-hmm.
in functional medicine world are like pandas,
Oh,
mold toxicity, all of that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Um, could you work with children in that regard as well with like behavioral stuff?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Oh my God. And unfortunately, it's raising like hell.
Yes.
You take a very different approach with children, and it depends how young they are. I've worked with children actually in the NICU at 26 weeks born, remotely. I do everything remote, um, you know, which is really cool because oftentimes there's really not a whole lot you can do for babies under like 6 months to a year, right? So I'm working with, again, mainly energy on that when they're a little bit older and maybe exhibiting some, more behavioral issues. The first place I look at is um, parasites, because parasites can attack your nervous system, your central nervous system. Mold is a huge, huge, huge issue right now. Also, just simple thing, blood sugar instability, food sensitivities. Um,
Can I just say that food, like inflammation from the food we eat, like neuroinflammation from the food, like this food we eat is such shit. Even the good stuff is such shit comparatively to what it used to be. And I have a really solid belief that it's like one of the biggest reasons our children are struggling with their health so much.
it absolutely is. I mean, it really, really is. And, we could have a whole conversation on that as well. It really isn't. I mean, we could chat about this a lot more, but from more of a bioresonance perspective, I'm trying to figure out what the problem is. And a great example of this is my kid was having this really crazy rash on his shoulder. It was like a huge eczema patch, and I've cleared up a lot of his eczema from birth. Keep in mind too, kids have a lot of trauma and a lot of birth trauma, and people are like, well, this kid's only 2 months old, 3 months. But what was he exposed to in the womb? What
Mhm.
was he exposed to from the mother's umbilical cord? What was he exposed to generationally? There is studies on generational. We can actually see DNA and certain what's called miasms that are passed through generationally to, inherited gene problems. But anyways, so, with mold, that's why some kids are fine living in the house and the other kid is having severe symptoms, even though they're both being exposed at the same time. But anyways, I could go down so many rabbit holes with this. Where was I going?
From a bioresonance
Oh,
standpoint.
kids. So my kid was having like this weird eczema patch, and he hadn't had eczema for a while. We had kind of, worked a little on his gut, worked on some food, and honestly, everything was great. And then this thing just kept getting infected, and then it was like bacterial, and then it was fungal, and like we had tried some topical like antibiotic stuff and fungal cream, and it was like just not working. And I was like, what the heck? And then I ran a laser on, because I have a laser too. We don't have to always do imprints. And I ran a specific ringworm fungal block, as well as another few scans on him to figure out what was going on. And a lot of fungal issues were coming up. I think there was some mold stuff. Anyways, I ran the laser over that spot. And literally, I'll have to show you the picture, because a day and a half, it was 70-80% improved. And then it's taken a little while to kind of keep going. And it was literally gone. All I was doing was a laser and his tinctures twice a day. And after months of traditional therapy, and I tried to do it integratively too, but it just, bioresonance for the win, man. It was the only thing that got rid of it. So it's stuff like that. Like my mom came in with shoulder issues. She had been to acupuncture. She had been to physical therapy. She had been to chiropractic. Nothing was really helping. Maybe a little bit. Like it was getting a little bit better, but not really. She had come in a few weeks ago, and I ran custom scans on her, and then a specific one around shoulder pain and elbow pain. Ran the laser. She literally slept on her shoulder that night, woke up on her shoulder. She's like, I haven't slept on my shoulder in 10 months. She didn't even realize it. She had no pain. Not no pain, less pain, right? And it was just like,
her, obviously.
that was after one
Yeah.
one session. And I had her bring the laser with her back home, and so she's continually using it, continually feeling better, right?
Incredible.
And so it's incredible when you hear this, and you just, sometimes it's hard to believe. And that's why even with this bioenergetic work, somebody was like, is this hard to talk about? Is this hard to sell? I'm like, no, because you see these crazy like transformations, and then you just want to tell the freaking world. So almost all of my people have come in through referrals, because they're just like, I don't understand what you do. I don't even know if I fully believe it, but all I know is so and so has been like crazy healed and feeling better, and I want some of that. And it's so cool too, because working with people, I don't have to just work with women who are so chronically in destruction mode, right? I can work with people that just like me. How I got into it is I wanted to run a scan too. That was just like pure. I was feeling great. It's like, how can I feel better?
Yeah. Curious.
Curious.
Curious to know.
Just
How can I
curious.
feel better? Yeah.
And so like that was super cool too. And so you can work on so many different levels, not just um, people that are already in like severe dysfunction. Those are usually the ones, but still, so it's a lot.
Shannon, that sounds incredible. I'm so excited to learn more. Thank you for coming on today. I know we could go on for another couple of hours. I know you are busy, so I'm going to make sure that you have time to get on your next call. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you, whether it's just to like understand your work more or if they want to reach out? Where are you?
Yeah, so Instagram, I'm probably on the most, although actually probably split Facebook. Shannon Salge, Salge, is my last name, both on Facebook and on Instagram. My website is thewellnessparadigm.com. That's my company. If you want to learn more about bioresonance, I have there's a lot of info on there. Go under FAQ. Probably answered your question on there as well. I also have a podcast as well called The Wellness Paradigm. I did a really good episode on bioresonance that answers most people's questions too, because there's definitely a lot of them that people are just trying to wrap their head around. So yeah, we do bioresonance testing only, and then we also pair it with functional health coaching as well. So yeah, go check me out. Go send me a DM. I love having conversations about this, and it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. I'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes. And again, thank you so much, Shannon, and we'll chat after.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.